Good morning, ladies and gents. You're in for a real special treat. We will be discussing eye-popping topics such as the Harding administration, a new popular poet, the controversies of mass production techniques, opinions from real people about prohibition, and the rise of new media.
On February 22, 1892, one of the most respected poets of this decade, Edna St. Vincent Millay, was born. She was born in Rockland, Maine, but raised in Camden, Maine. At a young age, Millay was exposed to the creative field after the divorce of her parents, when her mother, Cora Millay, frequently pushed for Edna and her sisters to pursue and take interest in the creative fields, such as writing and music. Edna took a liking and was extremely talented in the field of poetry. Later in her teenage years, after graduating high school, she stayed and lived with her sisters, which was when her mom suggested that she enter one of her poems, Renaissance, into a poetry contest. Although she didn't win with its 107-line rhyming couplet poem, she gained a lot of recognition for her talent, which began her career as a well-known poet and writer. Because of the praise she received for the poem, she was acknowledged at a poetry reading by a representative from the YWCA National Training School in New York, who told her they wanted to help her go to college for her to pursue her career in writing. Millay ended up enrolling in classes at Barnard and Vassar, which expanded her acting and creative abilities. In 1921, Millay decided to go abroad and sail on a ship to Europe to influence her poetry with different cultures. When returning to New York in 1923, Millay received a Pulitzer Prize, as well as being introduced to her future husband, Eugene Boissevin. In addition to being an influential poet and writer, Edna St. Vincent Millay was also aware and was active in political events that were transpiring at the time. One infamous event that Millay fought was the executions of Sacco and Vanzetti. To protest, she wrote the poem Justice Denied in Massachusetts. Here is the first stanza of this controversial poem. Let us abandon then our gardens and go home and sit in the sitting room. Shall the larkspur blossom or the corn grow under this cloud? Sour to the fruitful seed is the cold earth under this cloud. Fostering quack and weed we have marched upon but cannot conquer. We have bent the blades of our hoes against the stalks of them.
Good morning, ladies and gents. Today we'll be examining the rise of mass production happening around this great country and some of its effects. Mass production is allowing more and more products to be developed and released to the public at much quicker paces. This fast-paced production owes a lot to Ransom E. Olds' new assembly line. This assembly line is a new process that adds parts to an object that is moved through a system and repeatedly creates many identical versions of the same product. The most popular new product is Henry Ford's Model T, a new, affordable automobile for everyone. Ford says that this product is available in all colors, as long as the color is black. Now, if all of these amazing products are being made through mass production, then what could possibly be the negative outcomes?
Well, mass production has hurt the common man more than people realize. Many people are unhappy with the working conditions that are being forced upon them, and people are growing tired of doing the same routines throughout their workday. Despite there being a more and quick, efficient way to produce goods, factories are still dirty, crowded, and dangerous. The unsatisfactory working conditions are increasing frustration in labor unions, and with these agitated labor unions comes a growing anxiety among the white-collar class. Some say that upper-class people are accusing more union members of being communists in order to excuse the involvement of strikebreakers and spies within companies. With this new added suspicion, employers are beginning to implement the open shop policy, which effectively eliminates unions from the workplace. As a result, we are seeing a large decrease in union membership, and about millions of Americans have left labor unions in the past few years.
While our economy is booming, experts say it's unfair to assume that this economy boost is helping the lives of everyone.
Can you hear me? Can you see me? Then if so, you're just a part of the new mass media machine. From pornography to expert cinema, the movies have made a swift and dramatic change for the better. Now, for those who don't know, modern-day movies are a result of the inventions of Edison and Muybridge. These moving pictures are marvelous inventions. For only 5 cents, get this, only 5 cents, a fella can take his gal to the flicks. These moving pictures are a great sense of culture and entertainment. It's like going to a playhouse anytime you want to see whatever you want. Now, can you believe this? These Hollywood actors are pulling in up to 100 G per movie. You know how much I make? Barely enough to buy my own moonshine. That's how much I make. Now, this form of media can have some serious negative setbacks to modern society, which is why you should be very cautious on what you subject yourself and each other to. Take A Birth of a Nation, for example. This bigoted movie is respawning the once extinct KKK movement. No matter what, we should keep track of how this could affect our culture and the real influence it could have on modern society. Now, from the visual to the audio, we need to talk more about the domestic movement of media, the radio. Ever since Guglielmo Marconi invented the wireless telegraphy, the inventor Big Brains have been changing it from a warhorse to a household pet. Now almost 100 million radios reside in American households. People are tuning in to hear other people and news broadcasters from KDKA station in Pittsburgh, and many more tune into the raunchy comedy show Amos and Andy. Now get this comedy show is so popular that presidential campaign ads have to reschedule around them. Amos and Andy, do you know what this drab is about? It's about two white-voiced actors playing black characters. Instead of being a tool for the betterment of society, it corrupts the household with racist propaganda, slander, and now I can't even turn on my radio without hearing a single goddamn commercial from the commercialized free market. Companies like AP Gypsy and Every Ready Hour are sponsoring radio programs corrupting any sense of an unbiased message they could possibly have. Oh, jeez. Now, I'm sorry, folks, I'm ranting a bit, but at the end of what we really want is to just not cut our hands when we want to eat a slice of bread. And now, please enjoy a word from our sponsor.
Has this ever happened to you? A tricky endeavor gone wrong? If so, there is now an easy breezy solution to your ailments. To aid your struggles for bread, Iowa-born Otto Rohwedder made a power-driven multi-blade machine that, get this, slices the bread ahead of time. As neat and precise as it possibly can get. No need to worry about the messy hassle of trying to slice bread. Haha. Why waste all that potential energy when the machine does it all for you? Rohwedder has done considerable research to figure out the most satisfactory width of a slice of bread, all for the very comforts of someone like you and me. You're just a package away from a happy life. See how all these friends enjoy it.
Now, folks, returning from our commercial break, thank you, Wonder Bread. Let's talk about a much more controversial topic at hand that has affected all of us within these past few years, and that is prohibition. Ever since Congress ratified the 18th Amendment in January of 1919 and enforced it a year later, this great experiment has been met with very mixed results. Because of the low supply of alcohol and the high demand for it, many people have used this to their advantage. Because of this demand, a new black market for liquor has been created, with many thirsty individuals buying alcohol, or even crossing the border into Canada just to smuggle some in. Many underground crime organizations have also been using this to their advantage. In the streets of Chicago, gang leader Al Capone has been using this dry act to his advantage, and has risen in the criminal underworld. Although there are seemingly many negative effects of prohibition, there are still many people that support prohibition, and many people against it. Because of the large variety of opinions on this subject, we decided to interview people that we found on the street and ask them about their opinions on this matter.
I support prohibition. As a proud participant of the women's temperance movement, I believe alcohol is the devil's work. Alcohol affects your personality, family life, and health all negatively. All crime and corruption is due to the dastardly deeds of a sip of the devil's juice. As a God-fearing woman, I shall not disrespect my body and will encourage others to not do so too. These immigrants are also tainting God's plan for America. Overall, I would say I wholeheartedly support prohibition.
I can't believe they're making drinking illegal. Harding's government is destroying the jobs of many hardworking individuals. This new law is taking away our basic rights as American citizens. When I went to Ellis Island, I was expected a new and better life. Instead, I'm forced to give up all of my drinking rights, and I am appalled. When people from my country talked of America, they expected freedom. This new law is oppressing my culture, and I cannot stand with it. I definitely do not support prohibition.
Now presenting a special report, never seen before. Today we are gathered to ponder about one thing and one thing only: the Harding administration and the scandals throughout his presidency. It is a time as we, the American people, ask, what went wrong? Though a short span of 3 years, Warren G. Harding's presidency has been full of turmoil and surprises. It was 1920 when Harding was elected by us citizens. Some say that he proved not only to lack the certain abilities it takes to be president, but also to haphazardly throw his power to his cabinet officials. They were known as the Ohio Gang. Experts say these people did not possess the qualifications to be in any board and were just old friends of his. That these people tended to get in a lot of trouble for their own benefit. In 1922, Interior Secretary Albert Fall leased oil production rights from the Navy to 2 major oil moguls, Harry Ford Sinclair of Mammoth Oil and Edward Lawrence Doheny of the Pan American Petroleum and Transport Company. This would be legal if it was not for the bribes Albert Fall took in this process. He knew it could potentially risk the very foundation of Harding's office, yet Fall took it because it was a lot of money. As society says, the more money you have, the more power that follows soon. 2 members of this so-called Ohio gang were also involved in scandals. Colonel Charles R. Forbes was an acquaintance of the late president, yet he was placed as head of the Veterans Bureau. It was found out that Forbes looted more than $200 million of government money through hospitals and selling government land. He was later convicted in 1925. As with Fall, it was all for the money. Civilians of all situations alike say it was a cheap way to make big bucks. He was in no position to lead the country in any way, yet he used his power to his advantage and, some say, made a selfish, calloused move. Experts say that this kind of cheap tactics were seen in the Golden Age, when no regulations were used. This is the 20s, for crying out loud. One of Harding's selections was Harry M. Doherty as Attorney General. As the 18th Amendment was passed, the idea that crime and corruption would be an all-time low. Yet, Doherty was suspected of profiting from the sale of government alcohol supplies, failing to enforce prohibition statutes, and selling of pardons. It seems people thought this man was a bit sophisticated in that it was all because of money and power given to this wrong kind of people. When given this advantage, people will act poorly, which will ultimately reflect on we, the American people. While all are considered a sockdolager in their own right, we must observe these events solemnly as the stains on Miss Liberty's robes.